I'm Yuya, Assaan-ANU. This is Foundational Friday, and you are listening to it on the Enlightenment and Transformation channel on Blog Talk Radio. I'm thankful for you joining me again, and we're going to jump right into it because I want to make sure I get everything in time. What we're dealing with in this show is a concept of psychic ability, or more specifically answering the question, what is a psychic? Now, I know usually we don't use that terminology, psychic, when we're dealing with indigenous systems or any type of traditional religion, because we a lot of times consider psychic to be something that is Western born, or more specifically something that is dealing with fortune telling, or something a little bit more commercial and costumey. But it's important to understand psychic is at the root of a very pervasive religion, even within Western culture, and that's the religion of psychology. A lot of people don't know that psychology is actually a religion because it's based on ancient Greek archetypes or gods. We're talking about psyche here. Psyche was, and I'm not going to go through the whole mythology, but Psyche was a female in Greek mythology who fell in love with the god Eros. Eros we also know as Cupid. This is very appropriate, seeing how yesterday was February 14th, and many celebrated the celebration of Eros. Well, at least they think they did. But in any event, as the story goes, Eros was the son of Aphrodite. Aphrodite was jealous of Psyche because Psyche was so beautiful, her beauty was unblemished. And understand, in Latin, Psyche means the animating spirit or soul that animates the body vessel. Okay, so when we're talking about psyche or psychic, we're talking about the soul. All right? Okay, so even a term like psychology or psychiatrist, what they're actually doing is studying your soul, even though it's supposed to be a concentration of the mind or a field that delivers medicine, which affects and heals the mind. But in effect, what they're attempting to do is to touch your soul. That is the science of psyche, or the science of a psychic, is one who's able to communicate and touch the soul. So a psychiatrist or a psychologist is aiming to do the same thing that a psychic actually has the ability to do. Right? Only they use drugs and mental programming to get to the soul. So now we have the stories of Eros and Psyche, right? And they fell in love with each other because they were both pricked by Cupid or Eros' arrows accidentally. And what happened was Eros also gave Psyche a potion which would have no man ever want her. Now, this was the commandment sent to him by his mother Aphrodite, who was jealous of Psyche. Right? So what happens is, now, over a course of time, no one, of course, would marry Psyche, even though she was so beautiful. So her family, they found out there was a monster who would maybe take her. So her family took her to this monster, which no one ever saw, which was on the top of the hill. And there was a wind that came along. The name of the wind is Zephyr, Zephyr, right? And Zephyr comes along and lifts Psyche up. This is very important. It's a wind or a breath of life. We spoke about this before. Now, the breath of life is what makes things an animating soul, just like you have in the Bible, or just like you have in our Yoruba tradition, where we receive the breath of life from Olodumare. All right? So this wind lifts Psyche up to this place. It's a mansion, it's a palace where she's able to join Eros, right? But the deal is, she can never look upon Eros. She can never see love. She cannot look upon him. So one night, after listening to bad advice from her sisters, she puts a lamp near their bedside, and she actually gets to see Eros. Eros flips out, and on his way out of the door or the window, he jumps out the window and says, in order for us to have love, there must be trust. Right? So she's, of course, distraught. She jumps out the window after him, falls back down to earth. Sound familiar, right? And she wakes up in the field, right? She goes into the temple of Aphrodite and pleads for help. Aphrodite then gives her a series of tasks, which are basically impossible to complete, and said, if you complete these tasks, then you could come back. But what happened was that Eros was helping her. It was 3 tasks. She completed them. Zeus saw and said, okay, I'm going to allow these two to be together. And they lived happily ever after, right? Okay. Well, my point is here is that when we're dealing with a psychic or we're dealing with psyche, we're dealing with one who has the ability to separate feeling and emotion and touch the perfectness or the perfectness of the soul objectively. Right? Because the soul should never look upon eros. Eros was love. Where we also get the word erotica or erotic that comes from the word eros. Where we also have Cupid flying around with the diaper and the arrow. Someone should notice something's wrong that we have this child flying around with a diaper on and making people fall in love. And this is supposed to be a science of eroticism, a baby with a diaper and a set of arrows. But anyway, so we have psyche here, and psyche or a psychic goes straight to the soul of a matter, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play for you a reading that I did online for someone, and you get a sense of how a reading goes and how the touching of the soul occurs. It's an objective process. But again, we're dealing here with psychic ability. Psychic ability connotes one who's able to go into their own soul or align with their own soul and then align with your soul, okay? Through that breath of life, and feelings are removed from it. So that's why psyche or the soul cannot look upon eros or erotica or human feelings. Okay? Here we go.
And as far as all that new age flexibility and infinite possibilities of knowing nothing, because no matter how much I know, I never know anything, that's not the time for you right now. This is not your season for all that. This is your season for standing firm on some principles. You know, making a strong representation and in charging forward like a ram on those principles. So the thing you have to think about when I say charging forward like a ram hits everything with its head. It goes in head first. So, you know, ultimately, there's not a whole lot of extra overthinking that goes on with the ram. You know, it knows the path and just, I'm going for it. But now, what's important about that ram energy, which is another part of what came up in your reading, which is the of, well, I won't say the Odu, but it's another sign where it speaks about evolution. If you look at the ram's horn, especially the ones who have the fully matured horns, you'll see they 360. They go in a circle. Okay. And the ram's horn is very similar to the snail's shell in that you have that spiral. Now, that spiral represents the movement and the evolution of energy. Okay. So you're in a time right now of evolution. You've already gone through your transformation, which is your dark time. You've already gone through the darkness. You've felt the feeling of isolation, and to some degree have begun to kind of, I don't want to say become comfortable in your isolation, but you've developed some coping mechanisms. So now it's time to take what you've learned in isolation and know that it's for you to evolve. Okay, you can't do anything like you were doing before now. Okay, that's gonna cause you a lot of problems. All right. This is a time also where you have to be really mindful of people misusing you. Yeah. Okay. And more so misusing you, not just because you have something that they want not because you have something that they want, but because you have something that they need. Okay. This is a time now where you'll have people who you're going to see in your life for many years have actually been parasitical. They've been vampires. And without your input and without your presence, they're actually going to fade. You're going to find people actually physically getting sick. You're going to find people losing jobs, just being broken up, things like that, because you've decided to extract yourself out of the mix of their toxicity. You have people right now who are literally staying alive on your chi or your life force, your prana, your ashe. They're staying alive, feeding off of you. Now, the problem is that's the power in the ashe and the prana that you're supposed to be using to chart this new path and to get up out of here. And you're giving it to these creatures and these beasts to keep them alive. Okay? So
wow.
You're gonna have to sometimes you gotta accept the cards that life deals us. And that is one of the things that come with your energy, that where you're at right now. There's a lot of abuse and misuse of your energy because you're not really understood, which is fine. You know, we all go through a point in life, and we should all go through that one moment in our life where we're not understood by anyone, where we're able to break away from the herd or break away from the village and fulfill our unique place and fulfill our unique purpose. This is your time for that unique purpose.
Well, I'm just really taking in everything that you're saying, and it seems like you're right on point. And I will elaborate on that in a moment. But yeah, especially when you speak of, you know, the energy that people have exhibited, you know, that type of energy circulating me. And, you know, I have, for some reason, it seems that I run into people with false faces, and these may be the people that you're speaking about. You call them vampires that kind of suck the life and off of my energy. So, you know, I have been experiencing this, and you know, some other things that you hit on was it's a lonely walk, and you know, you didn't elaborate too much, but I pretty much know what you're speaking about. So please, by all means, continue, because you're right on point.
All right.
Wow.
So the other piece with you is what's key in this season for you right now is character. Character is your best friend right now, okay? If you distort your projection into the world, and you know you're really a lot more you're a lot more yang than you let people know. And you know that you're not as calm as people think. And if you distort your projection, you know, for anything that happens externally, it's going to destroy your path to greatness. Okay? So this is not a season that you can, sometimes we can get away with that, you know. This is not your season of being able to get away with that. Stand for your integrity, what your framework dictates for you in this season. Don't change that for anything or for anyone.
Okay.
Or even what a reading says to you. You know, even what I'm saying.
Right.
You have to maintain the integrity right now. And that's actually going to open up doors for you, you being able to maintain your integrity. Because one of the things that you're really supposed to be doing in life, you're supposed to be doing a lot of traveling across water. You may find yourself at some point on a cruise ship, working on a cruise ship, or just doing tours, but using water. That's an ally for you. This is part of your path to greatness that stands in front of you. Rain is also an ally. You got to start collecting rain and using that. You collect your rainwater and you do your libation with rainwater. Yeah, rainwater.
All right.
Okay. And you start doing your libations with rainwater. Rainwater is actually one of your allies. One of the challenges that you have also, though, not only just in this season, but period, is because you are so gifted and you're so endowed, you get confused easily in terms of which thing should you do. You know, it's like sitting back and saying, should I paint a picture? Should I sing a song? You know, should I crochet a scarf? You know, should I, go break dance? Like, I don't know which one I want, because you have so much that you can do. And that actually, it sounds good, but it's actually what's messing you up. You have to focus on narrowing your path. And whatever you're choosing, you have to choose it with no expectations. And that, when I mean that, like, I'm gonna just focus on my ventriloquist act because and if I do that, something better happen for me because I done sacrificed, my dog catching, my butterfly collection, and my ant farm for the ventriloquism. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to just pick it in a righteous way. And righteous is meaning like I'm picking it just because that's what I want to pick, because that's what it is, period. And so you have to kind of become kind of like that racehorse with the blinders on and just see straight ahead, narrow the road in front of you and see straight ahead. And what may be straight ahead may be no road. So you're going to have to make one. Okay?
Let me just interrupt really quick and say to my listeners, so far, Brother Haru is on point with everything that he's saying. And we've never met beyond me asking him to come on the program. This is the first time I've encountered the brother, and I am very impressed and pleased. The reason I laughed is because you are so on point when you say, I have so many things that I engage in and so many different things going on. It's like I want to do everything at once. And sometimes I find that being a little overwhelming because I'll say, okay, I'm going to do this, that. And, then when I look around, I say, wow, look at all this stuff piled on top of each other. So that's why I laughed when you said that. So you're on point with that as well. That's very interesting.
Now, the reason that happened is because your ancestral energy, the women in your family, and I'm talking about the ancestors, the female ancestors in your family, they appointed you to be the family witch, okay?
Excuse me?
So they appointed you to be the family witch, which is a good thing. That's not a bad thing. That's the witch that's the woman. Traditionally, a woman who could play an instrument was considered to be a witch, because she was able to bend energy. The more accurate definition of that witch, or that wajet, or uajet, or in Yoruba we say the aj or the iyami, which means our mothers. The witch was the one who could bend energy instantly. Okay, that was the witch. Okay, but she was known as a woman of multiple talents. Okay, all right, that's the witch. So that's why they portray the witch the way they do, to keep us away from it. Whereas everybody needs to be running, like every brother who's listening, you need to get yourself a witch. Some have tapped into it and some have not tapped into it, unfortunately. But they all have that juju. But they appointed you to be that funnel witch, where everyone has said, see, what you're feeling when you're like, okay, well, I can do this, I can do that, because that's all of that ancestral energy coming online inside of you.
So I want to ask you, where is this energy coming from? Why is it directed at me? I do know I'm chosen, and I will say that I do consider myself to be a vessel. And some of the times, those people are attacked the most. But if you can just tell me from your insight, where do you see this energy coming from? And that is the energy of, people trying to, you know what I'm saying, interfere.
I get it. And it's that vampirical energy that I spoke about, those parasites.
Okay.
Now, there's two reasons why you have them in your life. Number one is because you're a healer. So you have all of these sick people coming to you. All right? So that's not a bad sign. It's not a bad thing, and it's not a bad sign. They're coming to you for healing. Now, of course, they're sick, so they're going to come and do all kind of ridiculous things to you. But they're showing you, look, I'm sick. Look what I'm getting ready to do to you. Watch how sick I am. Help me. And the problem is, you haven't ascended to your throne to the point where you can say, okay, first off, me being on this throne, I have to insulate myself from everyone. I may be loving, but it's almost like you have to establish a form of I don't want to say a caste system, but a form for people that you're dealing with, because when you come with a special type of energy like you come with, you're going to attract all kind of entities that need to feed off of that healing energy that you have, but you're not aware that you have the healing energy to the capacity that you do have it. So therefore you're giving it away, and then you're left depleted afterwards. And that's the problem. You got people who will just sit around you, and after they're done sitting around you, you want to go to sleep, or you want to eat now, because they done took all your energy up off you. All right. But that's because they need that healing energy. So what you need to do, which is real important for you, again, that's moving through the world and carrying yourself as a shaman, where you're able to say, now, you know what? If the energy is not nutritious, or the person, I can't mess with it, because you're going to end up messing up my ministry, messing around with you. So I'm going to have to pull back. That's that Ogun energy. Ogun walks through the woods with a machete, okay? And he constantly cutting and breaking things down. He's acid. So that's the Ogun that you have to now be in this season, when you just pull out the machete. Hatch. No's got to be your favorite word. No. Yeah, but I would, no. Yo, give me a call. No. Yo, what's your number? No. All right. And I know that's difficult for you, because everything about love is accepting. And yes, come in the house, connect. But that's imbalance. You know, if you're constantly in the realm or in the vibe or the dimension of love, you're imbalanced, because there's a complementary energy to love. Love is connection. The complementary energy is disconnect. And you have to have that push-pull, that off-on of connect and disconnect, in order to generate the energy that you need to move to the next place. So that's why you have that energy around you. These people see what you are before you see it. And they show it, and they're not going to tell you, because you're a real juicy meal that they like chewing on. They're not going to tell you that, look, you know, if you just woke up and looked in the mirror and really looked at yourself, you wouldn't have nothing to do with us no more. Right. They're not going to tell you that. But the thing is with you, and this is critical, you don't have to feel bad for them when you start to extract yourself away from them, because at this point in their journeys, they're better survivors than you are. Mm-hmm. You know, they're going to find another meal. You don't have to worry about that. It's you who will end up depleted and prematurely aged and sick, because you don't know how to survive amongst these demons that you've put yourself around. You hear me now?
I really need to hear this. Let's try it again. You said for some reason I'm uncomfortable with something.
You're a person who's uncomfortable with your feelings. You have some latent feelings inside of you that are causing a lot of discomfort that you're not letting go. Can you hear me?
Yes, very clearly.
Okay, good. All right, cool. And what's happening now is you're projecting that reflection outside of you, and you're attracting the same thing. So what that's translating into is that you're attracting liars. Because in truth, you're lying. You're lying to yourself.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay. It's all right. It's okay.
Wow.
So
go ahead.
And it's not. It's feelings, but it's more your thoughts about the feeling. Okay, so it's I want to say it's almost cerebral. You know, it's not just because, you know, sometimes when you're hurt, you just like, I just feel hurt, and of course I'm hurt. Yours is different. There's a feeling, and the way you perceive and think about that feeling makes you extremely uncomfortable. So because of that, again, you're meeting these wrong type of people. So is it a time to just focus on your career? No, that's not the thing. You have it half right. It's a time to go inward and to start really becoming a bit more introspective in terms of the things the feelings that are going on inside of you. As a musician, you know, you have a certain type of memory that most people wouldn't understand. You know, you might remember the first song you wrote, whereas people couldn't even fathom something like that, depending on how long ago it was, right? Now, the same thing goes for your feelings. You're remembering and replaying these feelings and and you could basically say you're putting spells back on yourself because of how you're perceiving it, as opposed to processing it and allowing it to die. So you're stuck at a cycle. You could almost say you're stuck in hell, where you're reliving and reliving and reliving this situation and this feeling, and you're not allowing yourself to fully just say, okay, I got the lesson from it. I don't need it anymore. Let me move. You're not allowing yourself to move forward in that process. So therefore, if you're stunted, you're going to meet stunted mates. You're going to meet, immature people, liars, because that's really what you're projecting. Is just that you're hiding it a lot better through a context and a format of morality and being a generally a nice person, whereas they're not hiding this as well.
That's right. It's so interesting because in the beginning, when I've met certain people, they are very kind and loving and nurturing, but somewhere along the line that changes, and it's a totally different story, either possessiveness or controlling, or just like you said, liars and those sorts of things. So I always say to myself, if like attracts like, and I know I don't exhibit those types of characteristics, then why am I attracting them? So, it's interesting.
Because you're exhibiting them on another level, and the level that you are exhibiting them on is much more powerful than the apparent level or the visual or the physical level. These feelings, these are damage that's at a soul or a spiritual level inside of you, and that controls all of your physical activity anyway. So yours is actually much worse than the person who's actually exhibiting it, to the point that it's like easily apparent. Now that doesn't mean, when I say worse, that doesn't mean harder to fix, can't be fixed. I don't mean it like that. I just mean that you have to go down a couple more flights to get to it. That's all.
And that issue lies deep within, right?
Yes.
Within me. Okay.
And you're aware.
You are so accurate. You're so accurate, because I do keep my guards up quite a bit based on past experiences, until I'm shown that it's okay to let those guards down. So, all right. Well, I'm really enjoying this, and it's more than just entertaining. It's very accurate. So I do want to say that. Let's see, I had some other things written down. Let's talk about the energy circulating. There's something that happens to me. It may happen to others. I've heard it before. But when I sleep, I experience a lot of sleep disturbances. One that is I've heard mentioned many times as sleep paralysis, but I really go deeper, and I think it's a deeper, issue, where you're sleeping and then you're struggling to wake up, and it's like something is holding you down, and you cannot open your eyes, you can't move until later, then you break out of it. But it's a very unpleasant experience. Is this just associated with the medical term sleep paralysis, or is it something more sinister or something else going on?
No, it's not sinister at all. You know when it's sinister because you'll actually see something holding you down. Some call them hags. In the Caribbean, we call them duppies, or the succubus and the incubus. You'll actually see them. They'll do things. Experiencing is astral travel. Okay. You're experiencing astral travel. And what's happening is that you're physically awakening before your astral body is getting back.
Okay, that's our show. Now, be sure to pick up your copy of Grasping the Root of Divine Power, as well as head over to saduluhouse.com and check out our classes, as well as some of the information that's up there. You'll notice the site has been newly redesigned, and hope you all appreciate that. Until next time, I'm Yuya Assaan-ANU, signing off. Peace.